Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Football is King here on now Pick Swap Media. Just a little switch up, bringing Nick McClay over to Pick Swap Media tonight. No longer on the Fox Gambler airwaves for now. I guess we could say I don't know how long that is, if that's official or not. Some shuffling has been done over there, so transitioning over here to some Pick Swap Media, keep it rolling over here, but I'm excited to bring Nick on for our weekly show, Football is King, and to keep that rolling no matter what here. Every week we come on here, kind of talk a little bit of college, a little bit of NFL. But Nick, this is a mega college week, and I kind of want to do a deep dive on college football. Sad to say, but we're already about halfway through the regular season where we're starting to see some teams. We'll talk about that a little bit, running victory laps on social media around me specifically right now, but kind of want to do a deep dive on the college game, talk about a lot of great matchups this week and kind of where we go from there. So, Nick, welcome. First time, I think, for you on the Pick Swap Media channel.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the slate, like last week, we looked at it and we thought that, the games weren't going to be good. There wasn't going to be much matchups. There was only two ranked matchups. And we got a lot of action and a lot of shuffling going on in the college football world. So I think, with slates like that, you got to be worried about, the slates that you don't think are going to come up and get you. But this slate, this weekend, there is a ton of action to get to. So, I mean, we're touching on all usually go NFL and college football, but this slate's too good to pass up on. So we got to get talking to all of it. So I can't wait to kind of get into every single game here.
All right, let's address the elephant in the room. You and I were both very low on Miami coming into the year, specifically very low on Carson Beck. And the Miami fan base, I guess, has found some of my tweets, some of my videos on Instagram and Twitter, and they're kind of running victory laps around me. And I think we're both on record now for saying, like, okay, they've been surprising. They've been pretty damn good. They've been pretty damn impressive. I think we've owned up to those comments, and people are still kind of coming at me for this. So just the Miami thing as a whole, I think you can go back to any of our videos. And I did compare them at the beginning of the year where I was like, we're going to look back and be like, how the hell were they in the top 10? I said that in terms of more of like a 6-6, 5-7, 7-5 type of team. Still, how the hell were you in the top 10 situation? I never once said that they would go 2-10, and the Miami fan base is running circles around that with me. And for calling Carson Beck ugly, I guess you're not allowed to have an opinion on the way someone looks, but I was coming from the perspective of more, he has the most punchable face in college football. I don't think that's changed. And people are like, oh, you're just hating on him. You don't like him, and you let that impact your Miami opinion. Well, I've always thought he's been a very overrated player. Going into last year, he was the projected Heisman winner and the projected number 1 overall pick, and he completely fell off the face of the earth. And now he's, reinvigorated his career here at Miami, and he's had a nice start to the season. But still, we're 5-0. There's a lot of ball to be played. This Miami team is a lot far finished from the going to the college football playoff and win it all to still having to win the ACC, win the ACC championship, and make a run in the college football playoff. So let's not, count all our eggs before they hatch, Nick. I'm just curious to see where you're at on this Miami situation, sitting here in the middle of October with still 2 months of the season to go.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we pretty much kind of ate our words once we saw how Carson Beck and this Miami team were playing. We did admit that we, didn't expect this team to look how they look. But, I mean, there's still so much to be played. They have Louisville coming up. They still got to go to SMU. I mean, I know those two teams don't really look on paper up to Miami right now, how they've been playing, and especially Carson Beck, who I thought and you thought was going to come out and kind of drop an egg this season. But he has made us eat our words, like we said. That defense is so good, too. I think that is playing a big role for this Miami team, just making Carson Beck's life a lot easier from a defensive standpoint for his quarterback to, have that trust that his defense is going to go make stops. It doesn't matter the amount of points that Carson Beck really scores, the defense is going to come into play. But I think, it's a little early to be running like you won the national championship. They're in a weak ACC, who we thought Clemson was going to be the runaway, and they look like bottom of the barrel right now. So, like you said, a lot of ball to be played. As of now, I'll admit I was pretty wrong on this Miami team from a all-around standpoint. But, yeah, there's a lot of ball to be played, especially in the ACC.
Yeah. Let's once again, let's pump the brakes. They've looked good, but people are coming at me like they look like the greatest college football team of all time. And far from it so far. And as you said, they have a pretty favorable schedule. I'm not going to be surprised if we look up at the ACC title game and they're sitting there undefeated. If they are, good for them. But remember, this was a Miami team last year too. They started out 9-0, and I think they lost 3 of their last 4. So it's a situation where they've been here before. They've had some really good starts. Even look under Mark Richt, 5 or 6 years ago, whatever that was. They were undefeated, I think, going into like a Notre Dame game, and they got absolutely blown out of the building, and the season went downhill from there. So we've seen Miami get out to some hot starts before. Let's pump the brakes before they potentially blow something again. So with that being said, Miami is off this week. Really interesting G5 game this week that could be the representative, the winner of this game. They probably are going to meet in the AAC title game. The AAC is loaded with the potential G5 reps. South Florida, North Texas is the matchup we're talking about, with 4-1 South Florida at number 24 at North Texas, who's 5-0. But Tulane's in the mix. Navy's undefeated. They're going to be in the mix. The AAC is looking like going to be the team that has the representative this year. But Nick, this is a really exciting game to kick us off on Friday night. North Texas -1.5 here at home. Over under sitting all the way at 67.5. Thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, as you touched on right there, the 67.5. USF has put up 54 and 63 in their last 2 games, and North Texas hasn't scored under 33 all season. So these two teams are going to go out there firing. I really like this North Texas team. They're a fun team to watch. They go out there and play hard, and I think I would take North Texas here at home. I like the way they play. I like their offense. They're very high-powered. I know USF has kind of been that, I don't know, Cinderella type of story, but that team that got off hot and really, the world wants to see them thrive. So I think right there is a spot for North Texas to kind of show why that they can be that, G5 contender in the playoffs.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. A lot of points for your Friday night viewing. But I would say, if you don't have anything that you're tuned into on Friday night, watch this one, because either of these teams have a very good chance of going to the college football playoff, and looking forward to seeing what these two look like against each other. North Texas hasn't had murderer's row schedule, but as we know, South Florida has had a pretty tough schedule thus far, and Miami kind of took them to the woodshed and beat up on them in their matchup. But South Florida has had a damn impressive schedule or a season so far. Byron Brown is one of the funnest players in the country, one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the country. And Alex Golish, he deserves it, but his name is going to be floated around as one of the best up-and-coming head coaching candidates for one of these bigger jobs going forward. So it's a really impressive South Florida program. I'm actually going to take them here to win it on the road. I think we see a shootout in this one, but I do like South Florida to win. Just have a little bit more faith in Byron Brown at the end of the game. So give me the South Florida Bulls, go on the road and pull off an outright upset there. All right, let's go to Saturday now. We have great games all across the board on Saturday, a bunch of ranked, unranked matchups, a few potential games that could determine who's going to conference title games. But one I want to touch on, not getting as much buzz as I think it would have at the beginning of the season, but that's Oklahoma versus Texas. As we know, Oklahoma's sitting there in the top 10. Texas now the preseason #1 team, completely out of the top 25. Unranked. Arch Manning has looked terrible. John Mateer sounds like he's pushing to come back for Oklahoma. A lot of storylines in this matchup. Texas is still favored somehow in this matchup, despite how bad they've looked. And with John Mateer potentially not playing, even if he is playing, they are still favored, says the line. I think it said if he doesn't play, Texas will be closer to a 5.5-point favorite. A lot of storylines in this game. Nick, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, the fact that they're still favorites right now is kind of surprising to me, but that kind of makes me want to take Texas. I just don't – I don't think I can. I don't think any type of confidence in what we've seen from Arch. He doesn't look like the guy that we had the expectations for. And you said it before, like, let's slow the roll. We need to see him go out there and perform. And not saying that, he's a bad quarterback, but he's just got time. He needs time. He needs to get out there, get the experience, facing a tough SEC opponents every single week. I mean, this is going to be tough for a young quarterback. I know, he was set to be the Heisman. He was set to have all these expectations, but we got to go out there and see it. And up until this point, we haven't seen it just yet. So I can't really trust Texas in this situation. This might be, a live bet situation for me, but I think I would lean Oklahoma right now as underdogs.
Yeah, it's a hard spot to say. Like, I feel like I can't go against you if you're saying, I'm going to go with Oklahoma. They've looked better all season, especially if John Mateer is playing in the fold and is going to be in the lineup. But at the same time, in this scenario, like Vegas knows something, and this is like your trap game of the weekend. Texas, the offense hasn't been great. The defense had their worst game by far of the season last week, but still, that defense is littered with NFL players. I don't think really that's the fault for Texas to still be favored in this one, like a do or die game for their entire season. And listen, we'll see how the Florida loss looks by season's end, but that Ohio State loss is going to be the best loss arguably in the entire country. So if you find a way to go out and win this game, you're right back on track. Like as bad as Arch has been, as poor as he's played, as poor as that offense has played against some of these top opponents so far, they still have everything that they want in front of them. And for as much, hate as I'm getting on this Miami thing, I do want my flowers for the Arch Manning thing. I feel like all offseason I was saying kind of pump the brakes on this. Let's watch him go out there and play, watch him go out and perform. He's not Joe Burrow, super gifted, physically athletic guy that is going to just come in here and wow us from right away. Let's see him go out there and prove it week in and week out. And he hasn't done that thus far, but still a young quarterback with a lot potential going for him as well, with Sark as his coach, with all these playmakers. I think he just needs his confidence lifted. And this is a damn tough Oklahoma defense to do it against. But I'm going to side with Vegas in this one and say that Texas finds a way to get this one done, kind of gets back on the right foot, and makes a statement that they're still going to be a legit threat here moving forward. So give me Texas this week. Potential trap game, you might call it, with that number, with Texas not even being ranked. Oklahoma's at 5 right now, and they're still an underdog on a neutral site, albeit too. Pretty wild scenario there, but a lot of eyes going to be on that game. How about we go to noon on Fox? Number 1, Ohio State at number 17, Illinois. Well, Ohio State's a 14.5-point favorite here, Nick. Over under is 50.5. That Ohio State defense has looked damn good all season.
Yeah, this Ohio State defense hasn't allowed over 10 points. This is in a game. This is insane. And last week, 42-3 against Minnesota. I mean, just an absolute rout. They've looked like they are just the best team in the nation. There's a reason that they're number 1. 14 points is a lot away in Illinois. I still think I'd like Ohio State and the points with how good this defense looks. I know you're at home, Luke Altmaier, and Illinois, they're going to be good. I just think Ohio State has proved nothing, or have proved everything as to why they are the best team in the nation right now. And I think right now I would easily say that they're the contending, or they're the national champions right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Nick, in terms of they've been the most impressive team in the country. To me thus far, that defense, though, it has been all world. And I was not a huge believer in this Ohio State defense coming into the season because of the fact that Matt Patricia was in the fold there on the defensive end. I thought that he was going to be a bit of a blunder. He hasn't really been the greatest coach over the past few years, but he's worked some wonders with that defense. He's incorporated some NFL-type systems into there, so some NFL-type blitz packages, sub packages, where I feel like it's throwing off other teams. And with Julian saying week in, week out, is looking better and better, then they have the opportunity anytime during the game where they're just like, all right, we're going to give it to Jeremiah Smith, and he's going to do something cool with the football and probably result in a big gain. Carnell Tate's looking awesome as well. And the running game, they don't have like one of those studs that they've had over the past few years, I think, as of right now, but still a solid enough running game with this young quarterback that can throw the ball all over the yard. It's hard not to love this Ohio State team and what they're doing every single week. So I like them to win this game. We saw what Illinois did against a really tough opponent in Indiana and get blown out. This one's at home at Illinois. Their Super Bowl, Fox, big noon kickoff, everything in the mix there. But I do like Ohio State to win this one. I think that this is a statement opportunity. I like them to cover that 14.5 as well. I'm going to go like 31-14. Luke Altmaier, though, Nick, has been awesome. No interceptions on the season. Had a great game last week. He's been an awesome quarterback. If he's able to figure out this Ohio State defense, they could sure make this a ball game. But that Ohio State defense just a little too tough for me. So I'm going to go with the Buckeyes to win and cover there. All right, noon on ABC, SEC matchup. Number 8, Alabama at number 14, Mizzou. Noon on ABC, as I said. Bama number's been floating back and forth between -2.5, -3.5. Over-under sitting there at 53.5. Eli Drinkwitz has been awesome as an underdog here. But Bama, they've really righted the ship since that Florida State loss.
Yeah, I think I'm riding with Alabama here. I had them last week to cover that 12.5, so that was a crazy cover. Insane beat for Alabama for me against Vanderbilt, but I think this team is really turned around the corner. I think they're going to come out here against a tough Mizzou team who is undefeated, has a great running back. I think he's one of the best running backs in the country right now in Hardy. I think he could really completely just change a game, but I think this Alabama team is legit. I take them and the 3 points I think I'm seeing right now. So give me Alabama here over Mizzou in that SEC matchup.
Yeah, so spot that Eli Drinkowitz has been awesome, the head coach at Missouri, as a home underdog since he took over at Missouri in 2020, 9-3 against the spread. One of the best coaches in the entire country there. He has this, credit to him. I thought Mizzou would for sure take a step back this year. He has this program playing like an elite SEC program. And I think last year they disappointed a little bit. I was expecting more out of Luther Burden and Brady Cook, but this team has been awesome. Bo Perbula has been awesome at the quarterback spot. Ahmad Hardy, you've been talking about him, hyping him up all season. He's one of the favorites right now for the Heisman Trophy, has definitely been the best running back in the country. No reason that Missouri can't pull off this upset this week. However, this Alabama team, I think, is playing at a little bit of a different level right now. Ty Simpson's been awesome. You kind of take out that week 1 performance against Florida State, which I think most of the blame can go on the offensive line more than Simpson. He's been arguably the best quarterback in the entire country this season. He's playing great ball, had a spectacular performance against Georgia, had a spectacular performance last week against Vanderbilt. Ryan Williams is starting to wake up a little bit as well. This Alabama team certainly feels like it is starting to turn the corner, and they might be emerging as that top team in the SEC. Can they avoid going to Mizzou and dropping one this week? If they do that, I think that they're actually the best team in the SEC, potentially even the best team in the country. But this is a big test this week. So I'm going to learn a lot about this Alabama team, but I am going to go with them to win this one on the road at Missouri. I think we got a pretty high scoring affair too. I'm going to go with the over there, like a 38 to 31 type of ball game. We see Alabama win. All right, College Game Day headed out west this week for a Big Ten matchup. Don't think we would have ever said this. You know, if you said this 10 years ago, people would believe you. But number 7 Indiana at number 3 Oregon for a top 10 Big Ten matchup. Wild to even say, but a 3:30 kick on CBS. Oregon still a huge 7.5-point favorite over under 55.5.
Yeah, saying Oregon and Indiana in a Big Ten matchup sounds, absolutely insane coming out of our mouths. But you look at the line and it's a lot, but I think Oregon routes Indiana. I'll be honest. I think Oregon is kind of up there with Ohio State. I would say I think Ohio State is definitely a step above Oregon, but I think Oregon has really showed that they could hang in there with the top dogs. I know they only beat Penn State, but that's a tough environment to go to. Penn State hasn't looked like what we expected them to be. Drew Aller has hasn't taken that step to what we kind of expected as he came back from last season. But Oregon is still like that. Dan Lanning can get his guys in order. Dante Moore has looked like a Heisman, and their offensive line is insane. So they protect him. He gets the ball out. They're going to win games. I'll take Oregon here at home. I think they win by double digits here.
Yeah, I'm going with Oregon as well. I like them to win. I like them to cover. But I think this is going to be a really fun, high-scoring game. I think that Oregon kind of just imposes their will a little bit more in the second half and winds up winning this game by double digits, like you said as well, and covering. But I think we see arguably the 2 best quarterbacks right now in the entire country, and Fernando Mendoza from Indiana and Dante Moore from Oregon go back and forth. These 2 guys could be sitting in New York for the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year. They also could be sitting, right next to each other, going number 1 and number 2 in the NFL draft. If the draft was today, these are probably your top 2 quarterbacks. The way that they've played this year, the way that they've been composed, and having to go through this Big Ten schedule the rest of the year, we're certainly going to learn a lot more about both of these guys. But you look at the beginning of the year, we were talking Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Arch Manning. You've now had Fernando Mendoza emerge. You've had Dante Moore emerge. You've had a bunch of other quarterbacks that weren't part of that top kind of group, that top echelon. We just talked about it as well with Ty Simpson. Some of these guys that weren't really talked about that much coming into the season compared to some of those other top dogs have really played well. So this is going to be a fantastic quarterback matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing both of these guys go back and forth. But I'm also interested to see like Indiana, like really what are they? Are they just like they were last year when they played their top opponents in Ohio State and Notre Dame? It wasn't really that competitive. Or are they a different squad this year? They're sitting here undefeated going into this matchup, as we know. And they really whooped up on Illinois, beating them 63-10. But really, how good is that Illinois team? I think we're going to learn a lot about Indiana this week. They go to Penn State in a few weeks. Who knows what Penn State's going to look like by then, if they fully quit or not. But it's a big spot for Indiana, not just for this season, but I think for kind of the program. Are they just going to be a team every year we see go 9-3, 10-2, and beat up on the little guys, but can't beat the big dogs? If so, Cignetti, maybe he finds his way out and does go to like a Penn State. But this is a huge week for that Indiana program. But I do think end of the year, I'm not going to be surprised if it's a Big Ten championship between Ohio State and Oregon, and then we see those two teams maybe even match up in the final down the line. I think those are the two best teams in the country right now. All right, another Big Ten matchup that we wouldn't have believed 5-10 years ago, but number 15, Michigan at 4-1. They'll travel out to USC, who's also 4-1, 7:30 kick on NBC. USC is a 2.5-point favorite here, over under 57.5, Nick.
Yeah, I think I'm rolling with USC in this one. The way their offense has looked has been insane. Lincoln Riley at that, running the ship there with Jaden Maeva and Malachi Lemon. Malachi Lemon has looked like an unbelievable wide receiver prospect, making his case why he could be one of the top wide receivers taken off the board. But I think this USC offense is just going to go over Michigan's defense. I know, that defense is tough. Big Ten, Wink Martindale running the ship over there too. I just need to kind of see it a little bit more from Bryce Underwood. I know he has proved himself so far. He has looked very good. I want to see if he can do it traveling across, to the west, going into USC. And again, a crazy Big Ten matchup between USC and Michigan. I just think USC has the dogs to do it at home against a younger, led Michigan team in Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, major kind of swing game for both these squads for me. I think the winner of this game, it puts themselves in a great position to potentially make the playoff. You look at USC's schedule after this; they're sitting here at 4-1. They have this game versus Michigan, then they go to Notre Dame, they go to Nebraska, they host Northwestern, they host Iowa, they go to Oregon, and they host UCLA. It's a pretty tough schedule from there on out, but if you beat this Michigan team, I think if you split your matchups between Notre Dame and Oregon, you're probably going. At Nebraska, it's not going to be an easy one, but a 10-2 USC, I definitely think could make it. But if you drop this game against Michigan, you drop the Notre Dame game, you drop the Oregon game, you're definitely not going if you drop all three of those, let alone throw in that Nebraska game as well. But they've got 4 games left where if they go 3-1 against those really tough opponents, I think they're going to the playoff at 10-2. This is a pretty tough schedule down the stretch. Even if they go 9-3, they might sneak in as kind of that last team in the playoff. But a huge spot here for USC at home. Can they kind of get this monkey off their back against these more physical Big Ten teams that they struggled with against Illinois? And then they also struggled really bad against these Big Ten teams last year in the first year. If you look at Michigan's schedule after this, they got this USC game, then they host Washington, they go to Michigan State, they host Purdue, they go to Northwestern, to Maryland, and then they got the Ohio State game at home. They're most likely going to be favored in every game the rest of the season after this one. They could be going into that Ohio State matchup with a 10-1 record potentially. And that would be an awesome season for this Michigan team with this young quarterback, with the second-year head coach. So a real big swing game for both USC and Michigan in this one that I think could determine a lot of their season the rest of the way. So the winner of this one, I might even declare kind of the winner of the week for at least their season. But I am going to go with USC at home. I think this is kind of a Big Ten breakthrough game for them. A big, bad Michigan team that's supposed to be more physical, dominate them up front in the trenches, have the flashy young quarterback, the national champion from 2 years ago, kind of all that. USC needs one of these big wins, one of these program statement type wins. And I think this is an environment, a spot that they can get it at home here with a Michigan team that I don't think is that talented, but I think that they're still going to find a way to win 9 to 10 games because of that schedule and how weak it is. If USC is able to get this win, I think that's a big momentum booster for Lincoln Riley and this USC program going forward. So give me the Trojans to win that one at home. All right, last one I want to touch on, Big 12 game on Saturday night. My 2 teams that I had or 2 of the top 3 teams in my Big 12 projections at the beginning of the year. Number 21, Arizona State at 4-1 goes to Utah, who's also 4-1. 10:15 kick on ESPN. Utah's a 5.5-point favorite, over under 48.5. Saw some stuff on Twitter. Weather's not supposed to be that great in this matchup. Thoughts on this one, Nick? Utah at night's usually a tough place to go.
Yeah, these were also my 2 Big 12 teams. I had Arizona State winning, though. I think you did have Utah, but we were very high on this Utah team, and I think watching them against Texas Tech really scared me. But then you think Texas Tech's defense, that defense is legit. That defense is like not really any other in the country. They go out there and they go for the ball. I think they forced like 3 or 4 fumbles in that Utah game. In this one, I think I'm going to go home team Utah. I'm going to trust Devin Dampier, even though I trusted him against Texas Tech and that didn't work out. But I think this one is a battle. I like the over in this one. I know only at 48. I think this is a back and forth game with, coming down to the wire at the end of the game. I think I trust the home team. Utah's insanely good at home. So I'm going to go Utah here, and Devin Dampier picking up a late game touchdown to take the lead by about 7, I think, to cover that 5.5. I do like the over, I'd say, so give me Utah on the over.
I'm going to ride with Utah to win, but I am going to take Arizona State to cover. I think 5.5 is a lot, and I could see this one coming down to kind of a last-second field goal, definitely being decided within that 3 points. Could see it going either way, but I do like Utah at home here. At night, it's a really tough spot. You touched on it. That Texas Tech game earlier in the season, Texas Tech went 2 there and won, but we talked about it leading up to that week. Like, the schedule makers did not do Utah any favor in that matchup by scheduling that game at noon. Utah has always thrived at night, has been one of the best programs, the nighttime programs in all of college football. You put them right up there, kind of like with an LSU, as maybe the hardest environment to go into at night in all of college football. People rarely go in there and do that, but this is an Arizona State team that kind of has that championship pedigree, has that championship head coach from last year, has that championship quarterback and stud receiver, all back from that last year's team. They're not going to be afraid of this moment, can definitely go in there and win this football game. So I like them to definitely keep it within the number, but I'm going to say that Utah Magic wins out at night at the end of the day. So give me Utah to win, Arizona State to cover that 5.5 there. But yeah, Nick, that was kind of all the major matchups this week. We have a handful of other really solid ones. Kind of intrigued by NC State, Notre Dame. NC State can put up some points. Nebraska, Maryland, 2 4-1 teams. There's a ton of really good, exciting games this week. Hell, Florida, after what they looked like last week, traveling to Texas A&M. I wouldn't be surprised if they won that one. Georgia at Auburn, too. Georgia's only a 3.5-point favorite in that one. Crazy things can happen at Auburn at night. I mean, even to wrap up the night with South Carolina, LSU, and BYU, Arizona. A ton of good games this week. Any plays besides the ones that we talked about that have caught your eye?
You forgot the best game of the weekend in Iowa State and Colorado. Yeah, great game in the Cyclones, who only like to rush 2 defenders. But they're a 3-point favorite there in Colorado. It's supposed to be rainy. I'm going to obviously go with Iowa State, but this team, this defense, it looks so different without the 2 defensive backs in Jontez Williams and Jeremiah Cooper. They look completely lost. Cincinnati was running all over them, but then in the second half, only let up 7 points at Iowa State defense. So I'm going to roll with my Cyclones in that one and the 3, even though it's away and they're really hurt. Rocco Beck threw the ball almost 50 times. Don't think they can really repeat that and win. So I think they're going to have to knock that down. But give me the Cyclones there in that one, obviously.
Yeah, this is just an awesome, awesome day of college football that we got up. And who knows, with our Phillies, they could even make something in the mix as well. But Kansas, Texas Tech, that has my attention a little bit. Iowa, Wisconsin, that looks like an old Big Ten game that we haven't seen in a while. Total's down at 35.5. I think that I saw that's the lowest of the season.
Oh, yeah. I love a high 30s total, mid-30s total.
A fun potential one opposite, Arkansas at Tennessee. That totals all the way up to 68.5. So a lot of interesting games this week. And shout out to Temple House, 3-2, 1-0 in conference play. Baby. They host Navy this week, 9.5-point favorite. I think he got a ride with Temple. They've been in a pretty tough fight this year. So we'll be back next week talking, probably mixing some NFL next week, but a huge college week this week. Wanted to hit on as much college stuff as we talked about. But as we said, we'll be now broadcasting over here weekly on Pick Swap Media. Maybe get some other guys in the mix going forward as well. But as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk next week.